Welcome to the agenda after an inspiring comeback win over the Hawks at the MCG. With me is Jay Clark from the Herald Sun. Jay, what a comeback.
Oh, Chris, so it was a fascinating game, and for me, the big difference was in the ball use. So Hawthorn wanted a slow game, I thought, where they could set up behind the ball and really trap Collingwood into their back half, and that's what we saw what happened. Down by 43 points, Bucks wants them to play instinctive again, play with some pace,
some flair, Jay.
Some flair, some instinctiveness, and that's what we saw in the Geelong game a couple of weeks ago. So for me, it was just a huge difference. In that second half, they played on, Chriso, 49% of the time, which was AFL #1. 236 disposals, ranked #1, of course. Now, Scotty Pendlebury, the captain, played arguably the best second half of his career. He was absolutely fantastic. But moving forward in the second half of the season, and against Brisbane this week, Chriso, got to play more quickly. Use the corridor. I think when they play that possession game across half-back, they can get trapped into mistakes and turnovers.
Now, Jay, can we handle the pressure of being favourite into a game? Does it have to take to get 7 goals down before we start playing well?
You wonder what happened in that first quarter. I think with Tommy Mitchell, winning the ball out of the centre at the start, it really put Collingwood backline under a lot of pressure. So Mitchell did have a big influence, certainly early in this game. Whether it's a favourite thing, I'm not so sure. But what happened in the forward line, Chriso? Because they were a lot smaller.
Yeah, they were. The question is, can they sustain that for the balance of the year? And this is going to be the challenge. Just Grundy and Moore, the only talls. The benefit is they kept the ball in. They had 16 forward 50 tackles, really? Which was outstanding.
Massive.
And when the ball started coming in quickly, they were all dangerous, the Collingwood 6-footers. The risk is, what happens if Moore or Grundy go down? So short term, I think we can sustain it. Longer term, I'd love to see a Ben Reid in there preferably, and maybe even a Jesse White, because I just feel like if one of those big guys goes down, we are in all sorts of trouble.
You think with that ball use opened up more space for the forward half? Because Moore looked like he played his best game of the season. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, he was outstanding, his contested marking. But even Alex Fasolo didn't get a lot of the ball, but he made a contribution. He had a heap of tackles. He really kept the ball in that forward 50, and as a unit, I reckon they played really well.
So they resist, so leave Cox in the VFL.
Yeah.
Because I think in round 1, the Pies wanted to play him. But you're saying with Moore maybe is the only
I think short term we stick with it, and then when Reid's available or White's available, we bring them in.
Hey, interesting with Tommy Mitchell, as we said, 50 possessions, been a lot of talk about how impactful he was in that game. I thought he was Hawthorn's best player, Chriso. Buck sort of questioned how much impact he had on the game, and certainly it was high in the first half, but in the second half, as Adam Chalor sort of indicated, they were a little bit more cheap. I want to move the focus on to Dane Beams, because lost in the Mitchell discussion was the former Collingwood star, Dane Beams, who had 40 possessions. It was a career high. 21 contested, 11 tackles, and he's going to be a huge threat. And there's going to be, that interesting trade backdrop to this game, because remember, Collingwood lost Beams. They got Greenwood, Crisp, and De Goey. Now, De Goey only 10 possessions at the weekend. I think he played a bit of a role on Sean Burgoyne, maybe, so he was probably a bit selfless, but De Goey probably hasn't hit his straps yet.
So who's won that battle? We've got all 4 playing in Melbourne for the first time. Beams, Crisp, De Goey and Greenwood. Who's done better out of that, Brisbane or Collingwood?
Collingwood clearly to this point, but that's because Beams has had injuries, but he's ready to establish himself as an elite player of the competition. I think, however, Collingwood doesn't takes them on. I think Collingwood's midfield best in the competition versus Brisbane's. Some depth issues there. Clearly, Collingwood will take them on head-to-head.
Now, we flagged this.
We did.
And we're putting it right on the agenda, right on the table. Jeremy Howe has to be All-Australian. He has had an outstanding year. He's ranked 3rd for marks in the entire competition and 2nd for contested marks. He's a star, Jay.
Yeah, he is. And I think he really sets them back up. He's important without Reid. Really, he takes ownership, I think, of that backline while Reid's not there. Now, when he came to Collingwood, he wanted to be a forward. Buckley promised him that role. There's no doubt he's better as a backman. And he really drives that team. He's pretty good ball use. Is he the best? I heard Gary Lyons sort of say he's the best mark in the AFL ever. It's a big call.
That's a big call.
I mean, we're talking about Gary Ablett Senior, John Coleman. Do you agree with that?
I didn't see John play, but they told me he was a good mark. But what I want to ask you is, he's come a long way. Remember February last year? Broken finger with the frisbee and the dog? he's come a long way since then.
And the cricket match. Yeah, and credit to, I guess, the Collingwood coaching staff to help develop his confidence, because as you said, he is probably one of the most averaging backmen in the game. There has been a temptation to play him forward. Buckley has kept him back, and the coaching staff. I think to this point, it's a pretty good move. 5th in the best and fairest last year. 1st for marks, you said. 1st for rebounds. 1st for contested marks. 3rd for metres gained. So he's becoming a more rounded player.
Absolutely. All right, time for our Monday moments. And I took a very special moment in the final quarter. Scott Pendlebury, the captain.
How could you
now, he had the opportunity here to handball off to 2 players. One of them was Adam Treloar.
Yes.
But what he elected to do was to take the responsibility with Collingwood 1 point in front to kick the goal himself. There's Treloar and there's Phillips.
No, I got it.
But he said, no, leave it to me. I'm the captain. I'm taking the responsibility and I'm going to kick the goal.
Captain's goal.
How good?
He played an absolutely unbelievable game, considering where this football team was at half-time, and clearly the implications of massive blowout loss would have had. This bloke, absolute star.
What about you, Monday moment?
I want to take a more defensive aspect. Going back to this ball movement, now I want you to look at a Tyson Goldsack attempt to mark. We might call it a spoil, or he flies for the grab. Now he's lucky. Look at that turning point. Sicily could have ran into an open goal. 20 points up at the time. That could have been good night nurse. So here we go. This is the ball movement, the instinctive use, as we say. Pendlebury just puts it out in front so it doesn't stop. Taylor Adams runs onto it. He's got Fasolas, and look at that space, Crusoe. And Elliott, as you can see, the goalie's there, runs into the open goal. That is a 15-second goal, Crusoe, all from that sort of courageous fly at the back from Tyson Goldsack. No, he didn't mark it. Sicily could have kicked that goal, but they played instinctive footy and they backed themselves,
and what
Crusoe.
a choice from Taylor Adams. He had 2 options and he looked longer and got the Elliott one. Fantastic.
We're going to have to revisit that story, that idea that Taylor Adams has become a better player than Heath Shaw. I reckon really has drawn
We
level.
might do that next week on the agenda, because we are out of time. Looking forward to the big game this week. Sunday, Brisbane, MCG. Can we make it 2 in a row? Let's hope so.